What's up, everyone? Welcome back to this edition of the GASOCast. I'm your host, Michael Timmons. I have Blues Tucci and Lyndon Cook with me today. We just got off of our first stop of the Gaso Fall Tour this weekend, and I think it overexceeded expectations for sure. Before our housekeeping, I just want a quick thought of the weekend from y'all too. Blue?
Yeah, I think that there's always this. There was this sense for me of like maybe this is just going to be one of those years that's going to be wide open, a little overreaction. You see Duncanville at 1-1, Allen at 1-1. But the thoughts are we're a long ways still from seeing these guys again October 11th, and even further away from the start of the season. Even though we're going to feel like it's going to get here quickly, I think just kind of like the overreaction part is like, okay, as we move into San Antonio talk, and we're going to get down to San Antonio, who's going to step up? What's that team that's going to just kind of go out there and dominate? And so I think that's a little bit of the overreaction because it's just so early. So
Lyndon, what about you?
Yeah, I feel like the basketball community in Dallas, especially, was ready for this event. I mean, if you looked, it didn't matter where you were at Duncanville Fieldhouse. There were packed sidelines, packed bleachers, and it wasn't just parents. It felt like a lot of just fans of the game, neutrals, just there to watch high level basketball. Um, and that's something that I feel like they were kind of ready for this, like itching to get back, itching to see these teams. The first look at Duncanville, Allen, North Crowley, the top teams, at the New Look Faith family, at Parrish, at all these high level programs that were at this event. And a lot of those teams showed out, and we'll get into that, not just with this GASOcast, but also in the newsletter this Friday.
Yeah, what I'll say, it's never a flex to get all the top schools to play in fall events just because they have to play somewhere. So I'll never walk around and be like, look at all the teams Gasso got. But I've always realized that when they come to Gasso, there's a little different level of intensity, in my opinion. We try to put on the best matchups we can. We try to start to just set the stage for what the season is going to look like. And like you said, like the city came out. We can't do this without the fans of basketball and DFW for this weekend. They came out and created a real environment that it was undeniable how elite it was. I posted some pictures of that North Crowley Duncanville game, and it was wall to wall. And if you've been around high school basketball in Texas for a while, and you've been at Duncanville Fieldhouse, you remember those days. When it was just absolutely loaded and you couldn't stand anywhere. So awesome weekend. And we're about to talk about it a little more. But before, here's some housekeeping. G1 series is coming. We talked about it a little bit last week. We have our first list coming out today. I'm going to start dropping names of committed teams. And we're so excited to bring a circuit to Texas and to this region. We've sat back and watched and evaluated how these things work, and we're very excited to put the Gasso stamp onto something that we're very excited and proud of. So be looking out for some of those names, and don't be afraid to join. A lot of competition, a lot of opportunity to really elevate your players and your brand. So look out for that. The Next Gen Showcase, September 28th in Houston. I mean, every day it's just a new big name sign up. We're probably going to sell out, which the number for us in-house to sell out, we didn't know if we would hit that, and we're probably going to hit that. So I would say this: there's still time, but there's not as much time as there was last week and the week before. So if you want to be a part of the biggest event on September 28th in Texas, get to Houston and get in the Next Gen event. Gasso Fast Break, Lyndon. It's about to be on now because we're talking all day today about prospects, but we have some more in the chamber for the Fast Break, so that'll be coming. And then we look ahead to San Antonio, September 20th. Just excited as we are about this DFW Stop 1. We're even more excited about Stop 2 in San Antonio. Lyndon and I worked on the schedule yesterday for San Antonio to create matchups and to create some buzz down in San Antonio. We're excited to bring the Gasso platform down to them. And always follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, everything like that. So, man, let's get to it. A lot of good basketball. We were fighting for some players and some teams to talk about. Whoever gets to these rundowns first usually gets their first pick of teams. So the first segment, they deserve to be in that conversation. Who's the team that made their presence felt this weekend, Lyndon?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Arlington Grace Prep. This team, I mean, when you look at their 2027 class alone, I mean, this got dudes all over the place. Keith Scott, Johnny Green, Amari Coleman was really good this weekend. Joel Hudgens. They all bring a little something different to the table, but the chemistry is evident. They're comfortable playing with each other. You throw in a 2028 MJ Boyd, who was super loud with his athleticism and finishing this weekend. Uh, I was down in Robinson for their state championship game that they lost last year. But this is one to just kind of put in the back of your brain where it's like, this team is for real. They showed that going 2-0 this weekend. And I think they're going to have something to say and have a real chance to change the result if they make it back down there to the TAPS 5A state championship game this season. And right now in DFW, as far as private schools go, they're going to be up there with the best of the best.
Blue, you talked about this team. I think we tipped off at 8 a.m. and by 8:08, you were like in the group chat talking about them. Who is that team?
Oh, that was Mesquite. I mean, they're young. Like there's a lot to be excited about here. A lot of length, a lot of size. With Alex Alexander, 2029, 6'9" freshman, they were feeding him the ball. You go back and you look at their two games. He's the one that's scoring. He's the one that's getting the ball inside and finishing, using his length, his strength. He didn't even scratch the surface, fellas. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like how he's like one of their best players already as a freshman, and that they trust him so much. That was just a bunch of positives. But when you go down the line of DJ Daniels, a big, strong bruiser that's going to be able to score inside, do a little bit of show his skill on the perimeter a little bit and get to the basket. Going to have to be a really big time defender for them. They have a more link with Braylon Alexander at 6'7", can work a little bit inside out himself. Really likes the interior though. And Jordan Hawkins, he's a guy can hit the three, get scores off penetration. So they're not there yet, but something just to kind of just like get excited about. I know Coach Bangs is excited about the team, but they've got a long way to go. He was really stressing to them, hey, it's going to start on the defensive end for us. And I think that's really what they were trying to figure out a little bit as they went through their two games.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, Little Elm, they could have been in so many different segments this weekend. They could have been the first team we talk about. But when you have two closers, the way they have two closers, and Josh Weems and Kensington Candler, they can play with anybody, and they showed that, taking dynamic prep down to the wire. They're just a very scary team because Josh and Kensington have played together on different grassroots teams over the years. They just complement each other so well. It's going to be one of the best backcourts in the state. And then you have guys like Ian Barry when it's like you talk about those two guys, but then you have Ian Barry that needs to hit a big three at the top of the key in crunch time to tie a game against dynamic prep. I just feel like all these guys aren't afraid of the moment, and seeing the way they mesh and gel and fall, it's going to be a very spooky situation as you add another team to the mix of who's going to represent the DFW area at state this year, and it's still wide open. But we're starting to add more and more teams to that list of wouldn't be surprised if we see them in San Antonio. So, Little you got my attention for sure. The next segment, don't panic. Obviously, we set this thing up to see what's happening early on in fall, but there's just not a lot of practice going on. There's just not a lot of preparation. So who's a team that didn't fully show on the scoreboard this weekend, but has all the pieces to be really good? Blue, I like this team for you.
Birdville, they were there last year in San Antonio, and so this weekend they went 1-1, and there's no reason to panic about that because in game one they were without Sawyer Dotson for both games. Avery was there, did his scoring, but in the second game is really where I want to focus on against SGP. They came up short. However, that's where you could kind of see a little bit more of the other players get involved here with DJ Driver. He's a guy that can get to the rim and do some scoring. He's got a bigger role this year. Gabriel Zachariah, he's got to be their interior guy, but he can show a little bit from the perimeter and do some stuff to get to the basket. I mean, he's a big body guy that's going to have to be utilized in different ways. And then of course you have Brandon Lohman. This is the kind of moments that you get to see what you have when Avery and Dotson were out for this game. Lohman hit 5 3-pointers. So you get some more of that excitement of like, what are the younger players going to do for my team as a coach? How are we going to play without our stars? And so this was a big moment, I think, for Anthony Holman as a coach. I think to see Brandon and see everybody else how they played without their two senior leaders.
Yeah, for me, this was a weird one to say, but how about Allen? Now internally they might go back and they think they may have had a great weekend, and I agree they played fine, they played good. But I just saw so much young talent there that I was like, okay, this is just the fall. I trust that coaching staff and how they prepare and how they work every single day to be like, I can't wait to see what this team looks like in the winter. They have so much depth, so much talent that iron sharpens iron. I will say this: they're going to need some of their younger talent to make that jump during the season, opposed to hey, maybe next year. But I think they're very capable of doing that, and that's just one of those teams that I feel like when you have a culture set in your program, that I don't really care what I see in fall, especially when you have the talent that you have. That I'm excited to see where this team looks, with a lot of aspirations to be playing into March. So, Allen's a team that I'm excited to continue to keep my eye on. Lyndon, finish us off on this "Don't Panic" segment.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cop out to pick Anna as my don't panic because their one loss was to Birdville, who did play for a state championship last season. But I mean, this team, when you talk about a team that has pieces that are recruitable at every spot, I mean, Lamine Foon, thank God he's the long, lean type of rim protector because he was like, if he weighed 20 more pounds, he probably would have broken another backboard at DFH, and we don't need to go through that again after this summer. Because he was dunking everything and blocking shots, and he's added skill and stretched the floor a little bit. But you also have Noah Foster out there at 6'8", shooting it from the perimeter, can put it on the floor and defend. And then their guards, backcourt, Carson Jones, Jahai Martin, really get after you, can hit shots, can get to the rim. This team has a lot of dudes, a lot of pieces that need to be seen. And so what they played a 5-point game with the defending regional champ, state runners up. This team's going to be around, and they're going to make a lot of noise in 5A Region 2 this season.
Blue, what didn't you see coming this weekend?
Probably Frisco Lone Star. I mean, we're talking about a team that easily top 5, right? With all their pieces. They lose 2 to the transfer portal, basically. And Bryant Robinson and Trey Ryder both on the football field. So where does Keith Connor go? Well, he goes out, steps out there with about 7 players, right? And he was another coach that found a little bit more about his team when it's just the core guys that are there in athletics that are full-time basketball players. And so, Masa Gamero, he's a guy that's going to go out and he's a returner and he's going to get more opportunity. And Keith Connor talked about that. These guys get more opportunities now to shoot the ball, to handle the ball, to play defense, to be just basically more time on the court. And he liked what he saw, but there's so much more improvement there to go. Justin Harper, 2028, one of their younger guys at 6'4", he's going to be a big part of being a rebounder, which he did. He was able to catch and shoot a little bit. Those are the kind of things that he's comfortable with. But you can see these guys' roles are changing, and even within the game, you kind of see that these guys are trying to figure it out, and then once they figure it out, they go out there and start producing. And then Makai Connor, he's going to be one of the guys that is going to be counted on this fall to go score. So then once you get those other 2 planted in on this team from the football field, you're really looking at it at kind of maybe a little surprise team here to really make a push along the way as more opportunities, more reps are happening in this fall season for them. And it's just going to make it that much easier for them to everybody to gel once Trey and Brian are back on this team.
For sure, they not and Trey and Brian aren't just over there just out in the football field to get some cardio. They
Right.
get it's insane over there, the talent there. But for sure, that'll be spooky when they get back on the basketball court. For me, Red Oak was interesting. We got to see him early, and when you have names like Devin Kirk, who is a part of one of the best grassroots programs in the country last year, Swiss Army knife that did everything at Texas Impact. Then you have the guys like Jackson Thomas, AJ Burdine, at the Dallas Mustangs team that made a lot of noise, you kind of are like, okay, this team has some real firepower. Then here comes KJ Bradford, early and often getting right to it. When you talk about at Gasso, there's an opportunity to like make a moment, make a stamp. That kid made that stamp. And based off what this team's makeup has, if you have a KJ Bradford that's doing that, play with Dallas Showtime this past summer, if you have that firepower, then all of a sudden you go ahead and add Red Oak to that list of names that are like, okay, huh, do you know how to get down to San Antonio? Because there might not be a lot of traffic down I-35 if that team is fully clicking with the way they play hard to depth. So seeing KJ Bradford take that leap this weekend makes me feel even more confident for that Red Oak team because we already liked a ton of their dudes. So that was great to see. All right. We always say, we can't talk all day long on GASOCast because unfortunately, Lyndon has this great platform called the newsletter, Fast Break Newsletter. So we'll finish today's episode with some rapid fire talk and get out of here so we can go write our newsletter with a whole bunch of new names. So I'll start. Ani Lewis, Mansfield Lake Ridge, one of those guys that in the summer we're like, okay, this guy's going to take a big leap. And it's always great to see a kid that plays so well in the summer transition over to his high school team and continue that leap. So that was a guy for me this weekend that stood out. Lyndon?
Yeah, let's go with Jacoby Ewing for South Grand Prairie. I mean, this kid, plays with that real chip on his shoulder. This is an SGP like what you expect from their type of players who, going to get after you defensively, going to be a nightmare to guard in transition, and really just productive throughout both games that we saw from him. And was their guy as the weekend grew on. So yeah, I really liked him, and he'll have a little bit more to say about him in the newsletter this weekend as
All
well.
right. Blue.
Yeah, Steve Reynolds, who transferred into Arlington Martin. I can see why a lot of high majors are in there daily to watch him during athletic period. I mean, he's just a pure scorer, skilled, everything that you would think of that a kid from Indiana would have. But really the pure scoring aspect of it, there's a lot of things that you can see that he does on the court that he practices on. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see where he falls in our rankings in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, for me, Dearest Anderson of pace looks the part right away. Walks in the court, you're like, oh, that kid can go. And then just the way he plays, no nonsense, the physicality he plays with that guard position, like he's just a baller. And he's just one of those guys that you could tell sets the tone for that pace team. And that whole team, in my opinion, had a really good showing this week. And Dearest was one of those reasons. Lyndon?
Yeah, Sean Jimmy Ducksworth from Fort Bend Christian making the trip up to DFW. Super loud, always attacking the glass, getting above the rim, powerful finishes inside, and just, that type of production that we expect from seeing him in the summer. He matched that this weekend in some high-level games for Fort Bend Christian.
Blue?
Zylan Bernard from Denton Ryan looks bigger, stronger, more bouncier. Once he got penetration against his defender, he was going up to go finish, and he did a lot of scoring this weekend.
Yeah, Jake Pope of Hebron. I mean, two things that are hard to guard is a kid that has confidence and a kid that can shoot it. And his confidence, like there's not a shot he doesn't like. He got stopped in the mid range. He had to pick up his dribble, use one pivot foot, mid range, 1 foot pivot jumper, cash. Not afraid of the moment. I love the way this kid gets on the court and plays basketball. And it's very infectious for that Hebron team. But yeah, Jake, that boy be acting bad. Lyndon.
Yeah, I had to hit the Baller TV for this one. Do my own research.
Crazy. Yeah.
I can't be in two places at the same time. So games at Cedar Hill, they're getting checked out on Baller TV. But yeah, I saw Rodney Wagner go crazy against Highland Park, which Anderson Hochter and Cannon Wyatt, they'll have their own things to say about that. With ended up winning the game, but Rodney Wagner, got into that zone. It didn't matter if there was a hand in his face or not, finishing at the rim and then hitting deep shots. I mean, this kid, he's always going to be a candidate at whether it's a summer Gasso or a fall tour Gasso to have 30 plus, and he had 37. I think he ended up with in this game. So yeah, he definitely was worth my time on the Baller TV.
For sure. Blue finishes up.
Yeah, and just to let our viewers know, I was actually at that game. We
More
did have
flex.
no, we did. We tried to hit up everywhere. So yeah, we
Yeah.
that was one game that I sat for about a half watching. Chaz Brown here from Burleson Centennial. I'll wrap it up with a guy that wants to play physical. He was trying to just get to the basket anytime he could, which he did, and just use his big strong arms and body to go score and fun guy to watch.
Well, that'll do it for this weekend's GASOcast. It's great to get back and talk about an event. That those post-event recaps are so much easier to just talk about names because we have so many. And if you didn't get talked about on this and you were balling, there's a chance that you get talked about on the Gaso
Very good.
Fast Break newsletter on Friday. So continue to follow us. We post content all weekend long, just random stuff on social media outside of just this GASOcast and newsletter. So keep following us, and check out the newsletter Friday, and then we'll be back next week to preview San Antonio. But fall's here, Gas was here, and we're excited to be back with y'all. So we'll talk to you soon.